We were getting real close. Actually guys, since the last video, if you don't remember, did some cosmetic work. As you can tell, I painted the box. I added a latch, and now the box is actually secured to the unit. And at the front, I did add the smaller light like I was talking about. And that's when I found something that I just can't leave as is. I was testing that front light when I found this. So I turn on the key and I pull the light switch. The light turns on. So we've got the one up front as well as the three. Yeah, I know that one's burnt, but we're dealing with that in a minute. So then I went to come back inside here and turn everything off. When I did this, watch this. All the lights are still on, not to mention that even the heater works. So that's not cool. So that means I've got some wiring to do. Welcome back to the shop, guys. Welcome to THM. And what you saw there is not something that I would normally do when I'm wiring in some accessories. What I'm going to show you is the way I do it, and I have behind me on the table a very crude mock-up of how it's going to be working when I'm all done. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be installing a relay so that all those switches will be dead when I turn the key off. So let me show you what I mean. So in this mess of wiring, guys, yeah, I know it's quite the mess, but let me see if I can tell you and explain to you in a relatively easy manner what is all going on here. So what are the main components? Well, we have a battery, which is going to represent the battery that sits in the Wildcat. We have a relay. We also have a fuse box that I'm adding. This is not the fuse box that it is already part of the Wildcat. This is an extra fuse box that I'm adding. And then we have two switches. This switch is going to represent the key switch, and this is the switch that's going to represent turning on the LED light bar. I have my battery charging right now because it's a little on the low side, but it's enough to make everything work the way it's supposed to. So, as it sits right now, as you saw, this switch, for example, which would turn on the light, isn't connected in any way or fashion to something like this, or even here. All it is going straight from the battery to the light. The issue I have there is if I forget the light on, or even if I forget my heater on, or someone else does for that matter, it will kill my battery and I'll be stuck in the bush. I don't like walking home, so I'm going to make this system work so that when I do turn the key off, everything, all the accessories will be off. So really quickly, the way this works is, like I said, this is my key switch. So we're going to turn the key switch on. And I'm not sure if you can hear it because this switch is a little loud, but this relay will click. So this relay is now activated. So now if I want the light to turn on, I would need to turn this switch on. And that turns the light on. Now, just for fun, remember, this is the key switch. If I turn this key switch on and I don't touch this, watch what happens. So now all the lights are off. So if I had 6 other accessories plugged into this fuse panel, all of those accessories would now be off as well. And that's because this relay controls power going to this fuse box. So hopefully that kind of makes everything a little bit more visibly easy to see. It probably isn't because it's a mess of wires, guys. I completely understand, but we're going to take our time in this video and I'm going to explain to you every step of the way. So I think the first thing I want to do is we're going to pick it up, we're going to throw the tires back on, and we're going to bring it into this bay because I think it's going to be easier to work without the lift in the way. Now that it's on this side, I can easily open up the doors. I can work inside because a lot of the wiring is going to be done, well, the battery's right underneath the passenger seat here, which is kind of perfect. So I'm going to be able to run the wires hopefully right from underneath here, probably underneath this panel, and into the back here. I got to find a location that's going to be nice and dry for the fuse box. I also need to find key power. Now Arctic Cats normally have key power accessories right built into the harness, so we're going to take a look and see if we can find one of those. If not, I'm going to go draw power right behind here, just tap into that. It's not a huge deal, but I think in order for me to do a little bit of work, I'm getting rid of these lights anyways because I'm going to be putting that LED light bar. If you guys have been following the channel, you know where that LED light bar comes from. That comes from my old Sidekick project that I built that whole thing before I started YouTube, and it would have been a fun project to put on YouTube. I just never did it. I think I did a couple videos, but I'm going to remove these lights, and just I don't like this roof either, so I think we should just get rid of all of this. So let's take, what is this, like a bunch of tie wraps, some mechanical clamps, and I think, and there's one bolt right up in the middle. So let's just rip all that out. Okay, I know what you guys are thinking, and before I get started on all these tie wraps, I need you to comment down below, tell me how many tie wraps before the end of this show there are holding this roof alone. Just the roof alone, right? How many do you think there really are? Because I'm counting, right? So let's get started with taking this apart. I'm not counting it out loud. I'm going to give you the total at the end. Is that it? Did I get it all? Whoa. Where did that come from? I think I got it all. So what was your guess? I'll tell you how many I cut so far. 35. 35 zip ties. That roof wasn't going anywhere. So let's see if it'll come off now. Now I'm not sure if I'm just going to try and clean it up, put it back on, because there is some effort put into this with the little frame members here to keep everything solid, and this here, like I know it looks kind of funny, but it serves a purpose when you got the doors closed, and it'd be nice to have when you're running in the cold weather. So it's that, or I'll end up buying another sheet and reusing some of this so that it ends up being a little bit cleaner, because trying to mold it didn't work out, unfortunately. Yeah, I must have been right, 35. Actually, it feels kind of larger now because I can kind of see inside. I don't know. I'm putting a roof back on, but I'm not sure how I want to do it. So with the roof out of the way, I was able to remove the mirror that was up here too. I'm not going to use the mirror because I have side mirrors. Actually, they're sitting in this box right here. I have to figure that out. That'll be like the last thing I put on. But I also cut another 8 tie wraps between here and, well, down below here, holding this harness in place. We're not going to need this, but I'm going to probably keep the loom because I'm going to probably put another wire going up to control the light bar. But now we can concentrate on removing all the lights. Now, all joking aside, guys, I know it's a lot of tie wraps and it's a lot of mechanical clamps being used on this machine, but I think I might have said this in the past, but I really do appreciate that someone has not drilled or welded onto the roll cage, because that's a big no-no. You don't want to do that. You can stand a chance of weakening the roll cage, and in the event of an accident, this can really save your life. So this is probably the best bet. So this was the light that wasn't working, and after peeling back some of that wire loom, I noticed that this connection came right out pretty darn easily. So I'm wondering if it was just a connection. I'm going to throw it on the battery after and just see if it is in fact the dead one. Well, unfortunately, after testing it, this light, she doesn't work anymore. Alright, so I got her all ripped apart now, pretty much down to the bare bones, so I can start running some wires. But then I remembered there's one thing I need to do before I even run the first wire, and that is I need to know how much my accessories draw power-wise. So the easiest way to do that, you can do some math. If you know what we clearly know what the voltage is, it's a 12-volt system. And if we know what the wattage is, we can calculate the amperage. Couple of things on the internet that'll help you with that. But the easiest way I do it, and it's a little bit more accurate for me, is I have my multimeter and I have it set to the 20 amp mark. So the multimeter is actually now going to be set up in series, not parallel. So when you measure voltage, you're measuring it in parallel. But let me just show you here really quick. So right now, my power source is going from the battery to the light on the negative side, and then it's going to go through the meter back to the switch here on the positive side. So if I turn the switch on, just to make things easier, the light turns on and I'm drawing about 3.6 amps, give or take, on the high side. So let's say we round that up to 4 amps. Now I know what size of wire I can use and also what size of fuse I can use in the fuse box for this particular light. Oh, and you remember I was saying my battery is kind of low, so yeah, it doesn't light up all perfectly. So real quick, size of wire, I'm not going to really talk about what size of wire you need to do this job because that depends on the application. There's tons of charts online that can help you out with that. But what the next thing I need to do now is I need to find a key switch power. So if I turn the key on, I need to have a source that is going to turn on the relay in order to turn on my accessories. And lucky for me, it's kind of easy because like I said earlier, Arctic Cat leaves you some of these nice plugs. So I happen to find this one right behind the driver's side. And if I turn the key on, I get my battery voltage. We can hear the pump activating for the fuel injection. And if I turn it off, we've got 0. So that's what I'm going to use right here with a nifty molded plug. It's going to be all nice and professional looking. I'm going to have my relay probably set somewhere nearby here, maybe next to my big winch solenoid. And then that way there, it'll key on and then it'll take power directly from the battery over here, probably going to follow along these wires. And then my fuse box, haven't exactly decided where I'm going to put it, but I'm trying to keep it close to the switches because I think it'll be the easiest. But I don't really want to tuck it in too far underneath there because if I need to, check a fuse or replace a fuse, I don't want that either. But I'm trying to remain, again, that's a lot of wiring I'm trying to eliminate. So it might end up right underneath here somewhere too, because let's be honest, I mean, if the computer is sitting right here, who cares if my fuse box gets wet, right? Because if my computer gets wet, well, I think everything's gonna die off anyways. Now let's talk quickly about the relay itself. So this relay happens to be able to handle 30 to 40 amps, which is gonna be plenty for what I'm doing. And it has a small diagram, most of them do have a diagram on the side of the relay explaining what the pins do. So each pin has a number. So there's a 30, 85, 86, 87, and an 87A. So in order to make it easier for myself, what I did is I marked down on each side which pin number is what, so that I know where I am when I'm doing my wiring, because with the color codes, they're not exactly written on the schematic. So that's something that I think is going to be beneficial to you guys, or you can just go ahead and maybe mark down on a piece of paper what color number 30 is, vice versa. So in my case, the two that are activating, sorry guys, my camera isn't focusing. There we go. So the two that are activating the relay in this case are 85 and 86. The two that are going to be providing the larger power will be 30 and 87. Now 87A is a normally open, so if you wanted to do something with that, you can, which is the pin right in the very, very center. But I'm not going to need it in this application, so I'm only going to use 87 and 30 for closing it off. And I don't think it really matters in that case which one's ground and which one's power. So let's go wire all this up, and once I'm kind of done doing all the wiring, I will show you what it looks like. Well, I was trying to avoid this, but it looks like I'm going to be having to remove the whole dash in order to find out where all these wires are going, because somehow they managed to draw power from the main battery behind a dash somewhere. So I want to make sure they're not using, let's say, power from the computer or the actual physical dash here, or I don't know, maybe it's the actual AC plug here. I don't know. But for me to do that, I need to remove this half of the windshield. And while I'm at it, I may as well remove all this hardware, because I talked about that in the past. I'm not going to be using this again because it kind of looks like this, and I can eliminate a little bit of all that. Yeah, but on the good note, I'm already a good way there. So what do I have right now? Well, I decided this was going to be a good location for the fuse box, because let me just zoom in a little bit here at normal size. This is the original fuse box right here from Arctic Cat. So if they thought it was a good place, well, right next to it should be a pretty good place as well. And then my relay is right here. I've already got it wired in, so I got power coming from right on top of the starter solenoid right here, which this is hot, right to the battery. And then I have the other half powering the fuse panel, and that's fused. So I have a fuse in there as well, so that in the event something happens, well, the fuse should blow and it'll protect this half of the wiring. But now I don't have a molded plug just yet, but I'm going to pick up a molded plug, then I'm going to splice these in so that this will just kind of go in like this, click, click. So when we turn the power on, the relay will close and it will power these 6 fuses. I'm just putting 6 fuses. The others are going to be just spares for now, but I'm more than likely just going to use 2 circuits. I am planning on putting rear lights, but that might be in the future, so that'll be a 3rd circuit. But I really need to make sure that I don't overload this wire, right? Because if I do, well, then I need to, figure out another harness. But I find it really funny that they provide you this size wire, because it came as a kit where your relay came with the pigtail. So they say 30 to 40 amps, but I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but don't you find that size wire a little bit small for 40 amps? Okay, so we are underneath the dash now. This makes it a lot easier, actually. I hate to say it. It's not that many more screws, a bunch of these little plastic clips, but the more I look at it, the further I am away from writing it, which is really sad. But I was right though, because they are drawing power from that cigarette lighter. The cigarette lighter, I double checked with the key off, it has 12 volts at all times. So what I'm going to have to do is repair that, cut it, make sure that the cigarette lighter still has power. I think I'll leave that as is, because I don't think that's a huge deal. I mean, worst case scenario, I can add a circuit and just power up the cigarette lighter. I'm not sure. I haven't picked up wire yet. I'm going to see if I can find some wire that's, let's say, protected with maybe a couple of runs inside of it. But yeah, now we get to start wiring, and ironically enough, I'm pretty sure this here is also key power. So if we needed to run something else, it's right there. So if memory serves, when I was working at Arctic Cat, If you had an orange and black, it was key power, and if it was red and black, it was constant power. Don't quote me on that, it's been a little while now, but at least it's how it was back in the day. So let's keep wiring, and we're gonna keep moving forward here. It's a few days later, guys, and I made an even bigger mess, but I got some work done. So what have I done exactly? Well, all of the wiring is complete. So now the way it sits, my fuse panel is down here like I was talking about earlier. Got my fuse over here, and all the wiring is going right up to the switches, which is looking really nice. And while I was at it, of course I had to work underneath the dash. So I went ahead and I decided to just tackle the heater core. I know this is completely off topic when it comes to the electrical, but the heater core is now plugged in. So I'm gonna have to raise the front end and make sure it's completely bled properly. I don't see any leaks at the moment. I didn't put the roof back on because in order to do all the wiring properly, I needed to remove the floor, if you guys haven't noticed, which again, bigger mess. So I did try to clean the roof though, and that didn't work out at all. The roof is still pretty terrible, but I did add a couple of lights in the back, and everything works. So let me just show you exactly that. So let's turn the key on. And if I turn my headlights on, oh no, we still have only a few LEDs. Oh, don't tell me my light bar's dead. Or maybe it's just bad connections because I just twisted them right now just for show and tell. Maybe that's all it is, hopefully. And then this one's still working. That's awesome. So let's turn that off for now. Maybe my battery's low in this too. Now let's turn the rear lights on. Sorry guys. So the rear lights are working too. So that's excellent. And of course my heater's still working. So that's good. Now what I wanted to show you is my draw. So I had calculated about maybe 15 amp draw total. So if I turn all of my accessories on, 1, 2, and a fan at high, I have a total of about 7 amps. So that's not bad at all. So I'm actually about halfway from where I thought it was going to be. So I got plenty of room on this relay left in case I needed to do extra, let's say, accessories. I don't foresee anything at this moment. Maybe a wiper. I think I have an electric wiper. Maybe I'll set that up. But yeah, I mean, did a lot of work, but I had to make a big mess. So one thing I also wanted to show you guys is, if you guys remember, I was talking about some wiring and what I was going to use to make my way all the way up to the front. What I found is actually some trailer wiring. So this has, inside here, there's 4 wires, and they're all shielded, they're nice and protected. So that seems to be working really well for me, because I actually have an extra circuit right here that I haven't used. I finished it off, but I got all 3 here. And if I needed to use something else, I just have to simply plug it in, use an appropriate size fuse, and I've got power under the dash. So that's something that I highly recommend using. If you're only running 2 circuits or 3 circuits, in all reality, I don't recommend it, but just an extension cord might even do. So that's going to do it for today's video, guys. I'm going to be linking a lot of the stuff that I used in this video in the description box. Hopefully it'll help you guys out. I'm going to try and make it as close to what I used as possible, because some of the stuff I did buy locally, I'm probably going to use Amazon links just for simplicity. Not that I'm a sponsor or anything like that, or been sponsored, but I think it'll just make it much quicker for you guys. And again, moral of the story here is trying to do your wiring properly the first time. I'm having to redo a couple of things from the previous owner, and I feel much better about it now. I'm not going to have a dead battery when I turn the key off, because everything should be dead. And I am going to be feeling much better about how I wired it versus just, you know, twisted terminals and tape and whatever else that might have come out. So again, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing if this video gave you any help whatsoever. And I will see you all in the next video, hopefully on the trail this time, not in the garage, because I really want to take it out. I haven't even gone out yet. Anyways, take care, guys.